The link is on rhtcircle.ca.
That's all I tell them to go to?
Yeah.
Okay, and they'll get it.
Yeah. Have a look first.
That's
It's streaming right now. Like.
okay.
I'm just gonna make sure. Like.
Okay. Yeah. And then Pat Trudeau was supposed to do an opening term for us here. Here's a. This evening. Is this on air?
It's delayed.
Couple seconds in. Excuse me. Is your microphone going to be allowed to pass
I think it's picking up everything pretty good. Yeah, I have no one to verify it though. Who's that? Oh yeah. I think I can use it. There it is. Okay. Good to go? Oh. Where is she? I can't see her. Oh.
Okay, I was asked by Lori to do the opening prayer for tonight's meeting. So before I start, I just want to say our people in the past were affected by residential school, and a lot of our people are survivors from there, including my husband, my mother, and it affected our community members where their spirituality was taken away, their culture, the language. So, and I think that's why things are happening that are negative in our communities because of that. Our people used to be strong in their spirituality, and now it is lost. We see it in our young people. We've lost that spirituality. I asked one young person one time how come they don't go to church, and she said because of residential school. There's some of us that still go to church. On the average, there's maybe 10 of us at the Catholic Church, and I think there's some at Peter Albert's Church down the river. So, and then people that are following the traditional ways, the powwows, there also is spirituality there. People dance and they pray while they're at the powwow. So I just wanted to bring that up before I start. This prayer I received a couple of years ago from my cousin's reunion in Okamekam. So I'll say it in the language and then I'll translate it after for those that don't understand. Miigwech mishones, kibewasich gay nungo. Thank you, Grandfather, for shining on us today. I say thank you for this day. Miigwech gay mandikishakak minogabitawe. That I look upon everyone in a good way and talk to everyone in a good way. Thank you for Mother Earth for giving us life. For giving us food, for giving us water. Miigwech gay with legion, miigwech gay with kida, bish, magaptuk chutang and sadish kakumaka. For giving us the animals, for giving us the air that we breathe. Kay we see it in over me, Makalai Siri. Migo gay Makalai Chabanga, what they mean. Tigo, we create our oxygen, we manana. I offer my tobacco to the four directions, the east, the south, the west, and the north. Sema Gimana, the Wogana, Chana, if Gishma, Nagiwitno. I'm not much we don't come there. Not much we don't come there. Help us to be able to stand strong and to have a strong heart. Miigwech mishones. And we ask the Creator to help us walk in a good way, help our young children, our grandchildren to do the same, and to our community members, especially our Chief and Council, Miigwech.
Thank you very much. That was time to go. Opening up with this prayer. I don't know if I'm going to be able to use this. All right, thank you very much, Pat, for opening us up in a good way. So I'm going to do my best here, and Laura's going to help me out. I'm working with limited resources. Got a computer and a TV screen, and I'm broadcasting out to the internet. So all the cameras are facing this way, though, so no worries about that. So I'm just going to kind of give you an idea of why I started looking into Sagamok businesses and where it led me and where we're at now and all the questions that are on the table. Sorry, this is going to be a little sloppy because I got to switch windows and such, but I'll do my best. So earlier this year, I decided to get my Ontario Secondary School Diploma. I went back to the adult education, WASWA node, I think it is. So I just needed a couple credits, I got it done, and I started thinking about my future, what I want to do when I grow up. The education department they work hold on, I'm going to make this a little bigger. So there's the education department, there's the economic development department. They kind of work hand in hand, right? Like, what are you going to do when you're finished your schooling? Theoretically, you're going to be working with ECDev to start a business, and that's what I tried to do. The Economic Development Office is run by our counselor, Arnelda Bennett, and it is a one-woman department. There's no path except through her. And the path is, it's very rough. Like, I'm going to switch slides here because we're already getting ahead of this. So if you go into, I'm not sure about any of the departments that provide services, but at the ECDev office, you have to start with this old form. Piece of paper, sit there, fill it out. It's very long. And the whole process is like that. And if you switch departments, you got to go to another department with a new form, same exact form, but you got to fill out it again anyway. And it's just a process. It really, I find, discourages people from actually pursuing anything with the Economic Development Office. They just give up. At least I almost gave up. I didn't quite, but I didn't get as far as I wanted. Again, there's the form. Sorry, I'm going to be talking to myself here as I try to keep track of what I'm doing. So, I'm a software developer. I make websites, applications, stuff like that. Pretty simple nowadays, like it's everywhere. So I wanted to start just a simple business where you can come to me, get a website made, pay me some cash, you get your website or your app. So that process through ECDev turned into, after I saw that, how old their system was and the paper and all that, and I thought, well, why not make this easier for everybody, the entire community? So I called it just idea to proposal. And I met with Arnelda on April 23rd, and I had this idea to proposal concept. I had a demo ready to go, which I'm hoping to show you here in a sec. There it is. Okay, you're gonna have to bear with me. Proposal. So one of the things that Arnelda said when I was we'll get to the actual demo here in a sec, but one of the things she said was, Oh, here, it's loaded. I'm just going to bring it up now. And one more switch. Sorry, this is, again, as I said, it's a little sloppy and complicated, but we'll get it done. We'll get there. Where is it? I lost my, hold on. Lost the controls.
Russell, while you're working that stuff, can I just mention that what you're talking about, that's exactly what happened to my grandson. He had an excellent idea.
Yeah.
We went there, we filled out papers, we filled out so many papers, and ended up with no. The kid finally gave up.
Yeah.
He was much younger, so he went back to school, you know. I can't start a business.
That's exactly how I felt just a couple months ago.
And yeah, so I know where you're coming from and I know what you're saying because we experienced it. And there was nobody to turn to. And because that girl is also sitting on council. That's where some of our problems start from, is because people vote in workers that are working. These are the people that are double, what do you call that? Double dipping. I have a hard time speaking my teeth.
Yeah, you have a,
Anyway, that's where that starts from. And there used to be, a long time ago, nobody could run. There was nothing, there was no double income families. When a family finished raising their child, their children, grandkids came along, they made room for somebody else to work, you know? Get out, you know, you're a pensioner now, go home, relax. Let the young people that are fit to, you know, work, let them raise their kids, but it's not happening here.
no,
It's been a long process, we've tried, and I certainly hope today that we get somewhere.
absolutely, so do I.
Going on too long, because if we don't, our kids are gonna suffer.
I think they're already suffering. Yeah.
We see so much of the drugs that go on. Where do you think that comes from? It's because they're depressed. Somebody up here is getting rich because they're pulling in all kinds of money. And that kid's parent is down here, nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Where do they turn? So I really want you to go the mile.
I absolutely will. With the help of everyone, we can all go the mile.
Yeah.
You have a point, a very good point. I don't know the exact count, but it's something like 9 of our counselors have staff positions in Sagamok. So if they're looking after themselves and their staff roles, like how much time do they have to focus on the community?
With respect to the economic development officer too, like I'm a tradeswoman, a hairstylist, licensed hairstylist. I actually lost out on a great opportunity to work in the film industry. I actually got a job to work on a film in Sault Ste. Marie a couple years ago, and I went to Arnell and asked for tools of the trade so that I could get the proper tools I needed to go work on site at a movie set in Sault Ste. Marie. I think it was the name of it was a basketball show anyway. But anyway, so I went anyway with the tools like I didn't go with my tools I should have been with. So I went anyway, which kind of made me feel like I wasn't sufficient enough to bring what I had, right? Like, so we were supposed to come with the tools and stuff. And I went anyway, but I was upset at the fact that I had to wait. I applied well in advance with our now director. It should have taken not long for them to approve the second. I was eligible with their time frame of time for this tools of trade every, I don't know what it is, 3 years, 2 years, but I was well eligible for it. But the fact that she was never in the office and there was nobody else in there covering, I missed out on that opportunity to get my tools to go. So I went anyway without them, but like I'm saying, because I didn't look prepared or look like I had my stuff together, I wasn't asked to continue on, like they wanted, they were talking about maybe bringing me out to North Bay. There was another film coming up to do the hair for these movies. So I lost out on that opportunity because I wasn't well equipped and prepared, and I just thought, well, she's never in the office. Because I had called, and she was always out of office, and then there's no one taking messages for her, or she wasn't even responding to emails, like getting back on her emails to be in touch. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like either you're in your position, be in your position. If it's time consuming to be a counselor as well, to do this meetings, then you know what I mean? You can't be at two places at once. You know, like it's just like again a conflict of interest there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we lose out on opportunities as members. And do they think twice about any of that? I don't think so. Like it just doesn't even get addressed. Like you know what I mean? Those issues.
And that tools of the trade program, like it could really help a lot of people. It's not even a lot of money, right? It's like it's like $1,000 or something. It really should not take weeks and weeks if you even get approved to get it,
They were
right?
asking for my credentials again. I said, Armelda, I applied for this a couple of years ago. My license still hasn't changed. It's still the same number. I said, you have all these documents on file for me. Like, why do I need to resubmit them? You know? Like,
It's a common thread. Yeah. So this is the demo.
Recommendation, can we let him present his information and then we can ask questions in the next half hour or so? Because there's some really important information that we want to get to the membership. And if we start adding, you know, the blanks, because we have a long list. But let's get through the information first, please.
Yeah, let's, okay, well, this is gonna, it's very quick. These are very quick slides. The important thing is that we are in this room together speaking and sharing our stories. But yeah, let's get through the slides. So this again, it's probably hard to see. But my idea was you simply sit down with your economic development officer. They have software that'll help you out. You start with your name. I'm Russell Jones. And then with the help of AI and a chatbot, and again, the worker that you're working with, you can have a simple conversation like, I want to start a catering business, or in this case, it seems to be alterations, ribbon skirts, etc. So this would be on the right here, it's say like me talking, and then the response is on the left. And the Economic Development Office wants some very specific information out of you, like on the right here, this is all like just simple stuff. Your name, where you're going to be operating, what you're going to be doing, everything you need for a business plan. So through this simple conversation, and this is of course a demo, so it's not going to be this cut and dry, but the idea is by the end, they have all the info you need, or they need. This got all filled out just by having a conversation. You know, it's doing the paperwork for you is essentially all that's happening. This slide, it's not going to mean much to anyone. It was really for Arnelda. She was the audience. And from here, from that simple conversation, collecting your data, generate documents. And, you know, it could be this simple instead of months of back and forth through email and paper forms and losing your forms and whatnot. You end up with a neat little package right here. This is a business plan for Nokomis Textile Studio. But again, it has everything you need, everything you're asking for. You don't have to sit there frustrated, trying to get help with it. And again, I can't stress enough. It's so simple. It's a great tool, I thought. But she was like, nah. She's like, there's only about 14, 15 people who come in for that package. They're mostly elders, and only about 2 or 3 follow through with it. And I couldn't believe my ears. I was sitting there, I was like, well, isn't that exactly why you want to make this an easier process? Especially for our elders. Like, she's treating elders like they don't deserve to run a business, or they're not motivated enough. I don't know what her reasoning actually is.
Did she actually have the right to say no, or is it not an issue that should be brought up to
To me,
executive?
to me, this is saving her work because this tool is creating business plans that are needed to apply for that funding.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's actually work that's being done for her.
I couldn't understand it myself why you would not want to do your job better, basically.
We're making it easier for members to get it done.
So when she said no,
She said no, and then she left the room. She was gone for maybe 30 seconds. She came running back in. She said, but you know, it's a great idea. Is we have 18 to 25-year-olds that we want to work with. And she's like, how about you put on a class, like a month-long class for them, where you meet with them every day. They work on an app, a website, whatever they want to build. It's like, we're talking programming here, right? Computer programming. She said, you know, you can take them to Toronto to do something AI. So I started looking into that. Like there's, you know, the University of Toronto has great programs. It could have been great exposure for any of the students that I'd work with to see what it's like out in the real world.
but did she have that? Did she have to rate this thing? Is that something that?
She is the manager of the Economic Development Office.
Isn't that, you know, think about it. Isn't that something that should end up to the hierarchy? Like
I think there would probably be a committee, right?
it should have been somebody, like the chief and council, that put a stamp on stuff, not her. She's working for the chief
That's the
and
problem that
council.
we have right now is because there is too many of them on that position to make
Yeah.
their own decisions with their own circle.
Yeah.
So their own circle is making that for themselves and not thinking of the rest of the community that are trying to come in and do more for the community. I
Yeah.
don't see how they don't understand that the children need to have this to keep the community moving forward.
And this is ideal for people, especially young people who can get the grants, you know, that are not good active loans, you know, young generations could be starting up little businesses, whether it be, you know, lawn care, they start, but a way to earn money, also to learn about responsibilities and whatnot.
There's no reason it's so difficult right now.
You know, so it's a great tool.
So, when I said that, it should stop at her and all this, is that something we have to appreciate? When you have chief and council, get responsible for the decisions that are being made by workers out here. They don't get a shit to us, I don't, and most of the time, I bring it up.
Are the leaders even aware that this is true?
I emailed them. Gatekeeping?
Gatekeeping. And so we have a process that's supposed to be designed to work, but it's held up within this position that doesn't require oversight. There's an awful issues that are involved, right? An individual, a sole individual has a responsibility to review everything, to make recommendations, but also to pay out everything, to make the decisions to have these paid out without an oversight of either a council or a committee. Right? So I think that that's what we're hearing here is that from you is that there probably should be that oversight is required, right? And it's to ensure fairness, rationality.
Because somebody has to be responsible, and it's our responsibility.
They're the ones.
When you, I don't know about you guys, but I've been hearing over these last 4, 5, 6 years, and I keep being told by people, this is the way we do things. Make no mistake about it. We only do these things because everybody else will allow it to happen. And as things have happened in certain ways, as decisions are made to go forward a certain approach, we've allowed it to happen. And it's become us. This is very much a symptom of our work throughout our entire organization and her being strong leadership as well. Right? There was an important value we used to have here in our community, and that was the separation between politics and administration. And that's what this really provides administration where we're at.
You know what gets me is that with all of the money that comes into the community with RHT, you would think that a priority would be economic development. And why do they only still have just one staff in there? Like with all the money that came into the community, there should have been, that should have been the department where they built up that people there waiting and helping people, members to start businesses or what have you. And it wasn't there. Like,
Yeah.
it's not right.
To touch on the oversight there, like, so there is a mechanism in place that, we have our chief and council, we have our staff members, and we also have our committees. But the problem is they're not just council and the staff roles, but they're also filling those committees. So it's the same names throughout the entire structure. And with that, you can't have good governments. It just can't happen.
Well, they got rid of all the opportunity for bad members to sit on committees, because now it's councilors, and they call them working groups. So it's actually
Yes.
some councilors that are designated to each so-called committee, but not committee, the working groups. And then it's what, the director of that department, and maybe staff members, and then now, but like, there's no, again, we talked about nepotism and whatnot before, bad members were allowed to apply to these committees, so that there was that, consensual agreement that being made by members that were from different families or what have you, that people were working, those types of people.
So to answer Elaine's question, really, who's the oversight? I have emailed and written to the chief and council about this is exactly what I'm talking. My whole story here, like the youth mentorship, having the Toronto thing and the youth cohort dangled in front of me and then taken away. No response from chief and council whatsoever, not one.
But we forget, the hierarchy, the people are top, chief and council are below us. And if they're not people stand up for their race, what's happening here? Come on, we've got work to do, we can do it, we gotta make these guys business to us.
I agree.
Because as far as I'm concerned, the chief and council are lazy. They don't want to listen. You've got people sitting in there for year after year or whatever. I've got one counselor that got me on the hobby. He's still there, what does he account for, You can't go to him. You never seen those board, it would have been time.
Let's go. Sorry, I don't want to cut anybody off, but there's really important information that people can't do that we need to get through. I'm sorry. I have to be the one to along here because the information that we need to present is extremely important, and I know that people have several issues, and that's what we would like to identify. Like, if she brought to us, we can identify them as a community monitoring team, but we want to get the information in cases.
So yeah, this next or last slide is pretty much just ties up the whole economic development arm. Outside of the Economic Development Office, we also have the Sagamok Development Corporation. And what do they do? I don't really know either. The website it doesn't have any useful information. All you get to see is marketing material, presentations saying that they're building all this, they're buying all this, they're doing great, but we're not going to tell you how great. That's pretty much been my experience working with Sagamok in general. And okay, so this is a little side, not really a side topic, but between January and May or June, the members portal that we can log into and look at the minutes and all that was left exposed to the entire world. Like, nobody needed a password to actually, you could search Google, you can go to your AI or whatever, ask about Sagamok, and it was just pulling in documents, council minutes, financial presentations, all the content in the members portal was live on the internet. That in itself is a very big deal. I do have a complaint in with ISC.
Was there any information you saw that was privacy?
There's lots. Like there's people asking council for money to sponsor for their kids. There's people asking for help in their homes, heating, people being evicted from their homes. There's a lot of personal information in those minutes, and they should not be online. But they just, that political office they're the ones who are responsible for providing all the members with all the information we're supposed to have about businesses, membership, anything. And it's the council secretariat ultimately who is responsible. And I guess also the senior administrative officer, which is Gus. Gus has held that role for 2 years now, as far as I can tell, 2.5 years.
When you say Gus, you mean Angus too? Yeah. So he's the chief and
Before that, I'm not sure. The director, Tammy, yeah. Oh, hello. So yeah, Gus took it upon himself to take the 3 top spots in the whole organization.
In case you don't know this, after getting rid of the senior management team, the last one to get rid of was our human resources director. And he got rid of it because he wouldn't sign the paperwork because it was against our accountability law to make Angus the CEO.
And this is what people think about that. I really sophisticated documents. I for a number of years, starting from the early 2000s, and I wanted to safeguard our community from situations like this. So we created a governance manual, created proper financial policies, quality assurance manuals, all to ensure that none of this would happen. So, the concerning part for us is we're going into this information, and you have some individuals that have been on council for 20 years. And you can go through the minutes and check if any of those financial decisions or any decisions that they've made over the last 2 years were opposed, abstained, or they just disagreed with them at the council minutes. I think there might have been one, maybe two, out of the last 4 years where they abstained, opposed, or rejected any decision that we made. Which is very telling, and it's difficult for me as a professional and somebody who oversaw the organization before to know that we have council members who approved, developed, and oversaw these policies for the last 20 years, never questioned anything that is starting from assuming that senior administrative operations position. They've got 7, 8 management staff, our managers, and they're not allowed to talk about it because they sign agreements. Well, we can. I think that's an important subject. They let go 7, 8 people. What did that cost, man? I did a rest estimate in my just in my head. It's about $1.5 million. Where does that money come from? And why didn't anybody question it at that time? And those are the types of decisions that we continue to see over the last 24 months. And if our community doesn't stand up and stop it, it's going to continue. We have major money on our RRG money, and we're going to break it down.
That's
I just have a question. Did you say that they signed, what did they sign? NDAs? Yeah.
We don't know for certain what they signed. We know on August 24th or 26th that there was a council meeting. They had discussion that was in camera, but following that meeting, no council member ever said anything publicly. They never did anything or shared information. So the people you voted in are basically sitting at a table doing nothing.
Is that even a law in the Anishinaabe?
No.
Anishinaabe way? No.
Well, this council, this chief, when he came on, the big thing, and Nelson was like this too, but they put into a practice, they wanted to see consensus. That was the Anishinaabe way. So your councilors, if they disagreed with anything, or if they held back their names from signing, it was all in the name of maintaining an image of consensus within that body, right? So it is a manufactured process.
And yet they're working so hard to maintain the Anishinaabe language, and this and that.
They're saying a lot.
They're trying to do Anishinaabe, like, sign NDAs, like, whatever.
cease and desist orders.
Sign anything like that. They should be just thrown right out of council if somebody signs an NDA. They're responsible to respond to everybody. They cannot sign those.
So-
That's what's happening, it should not be happening.
So speaking to that, like going to NDAs and cease and desist orders. So the member portal exposure I was just talking about, like that is a really big deal. And when I informed them and got no answer from chief and council at all, I started taking the public on Facebook, and the first thing I got was a cease and desist order from lawyers. And that seems to be their default method now. If you disagree or try to shine a light on whatever they're doing, they're going to try to shut you down.
I've got 3 of them.
Yeah, it's not a nice feeling, but it is a tactic.
I've been out of politics for a long time. Don't everyone come and see, I just sit at home and mind my own business. You know, I love everybody, I say hello to everybody. You know, and that's how I want to be as a Nishnawbe. But the last year, I've been hearing so much, and people keep dragging it. I just know it says I don't want to be bothered. But now the things that I'm hearing that are coming from you know, that's a big impact on our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids. We gotta change what's happening in our community.
I feel the same way. That's why I'm sitting here right now. I started getting all this information, doing the research, and I could have just said, "F it," stayed at home too, and go about my business. But the scale of what's happening now it's ramped up incredibly since the RHT money came in.
I'm surprised at how many people have said that. Fuck it. Forget it.
Yeah.
We're not going to try anymore. I'm glad you are trying now.
But I'm gonna commit to myself now that I'm hearing this, and I'm glad you guys are bringing this up, because you guys all know I've never been through big shit in a like this.
Oh.
But I am gonna commit myself to you guys tonight.
I'll hold you to that.
I'm gonna stand by you, I'll back this up, whatever, and this is viral. We're on air.
Yeah, you're recording on the internet, committing to that now. There it is.
Russ will take you through some of the figures that we have, and he'll talk about the approvals that they made, and I'll talk about the checks and balances that they should have followed what they did.
Well, first, how did where did I start, right? Like after the whole experience with economic development, well, I started looking at the minutes. I wanted to understand, like, if economic development isn't doing anything, and Sagamok Development Corporation isn't really doing anything, then what's anyone doing? And that's when I started coming across, there's minutes with companies, like in the corporate world, you can register a company and it's just a number, like 105666643, Ontario Limited. And tons of these started popping up in the minutes. And it's not necessarily, it's not in itself shady or anything like that. It's an absolutely legitimate accounting method, right? Like, I guess you would call it. All right, I'm going to ask my AI helper here let's get
The shady part isn't the part of us setting up the numbered companies for people who can't hear in the back. The shady part is the failure to use the process that they approved and was certified by the First Nation Finance Authority. So Sagamok has 2 documents that they're held by. The first thing, the Financial Administrative Law and their ISO, both of which they receive certifications for. But knowing that they don't follow any of them, that's where we were able to loop it in and say, okay, we got them on their own, at their own game, because we went solely based off everything they provided for us. So what you're hearing is there's no rumor, there's no gossip, it's 100% fact from their minutes, from any documents they upload into their website.
And here's a list. I know it's tiny, so I'll read it to you, but so the main enterprise organizations are Sagamok Development Corporation, SDC, Sagamok Enterprises Inc., ZEI, Sagamok Construction LP, ZCLP, OCL Custom Crushing and Quarrying Limited, Legend Mining Inc., Sagamok Real Estate Holdings LP, Robinson Huron Forestry Company Inc., Ritchie Falls Resort, GR Trust, Sagamok Stewart Olson LP, Sagamok Mining LP, Great Lakes Hospitality Group LP, and Aki A. Dibben Weswin LP. So those are the named companies. I'm just
How
gonna.
many of you guys remember the first time you ever heard these names? Because I've never heard these before.
Yeah, I think I heard of Zeddy, and that's about it before.
I didn't even know they had that ZEI building down there, so I went for a ride down that way. What's this building? I think it was the ZEI office. I didn't even know they had that up there.
So that's a good question, but it's pretty much the answer is all the chief and all the councillors all share different roles on the boards as office. Like a CEO is a chief executive officer. So every company has officers, and yes, councillors are either like the treasurer, secretary, or the president, and directors as well. And so the numbered companies, I'm not going to rattle through them, but I count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 numbered companies. So in the accounting world, that's, or at least in the data I've been looking at, it was very hard to trace. Like in the minutes, it'll have a named, a numbered company, and then you can go to Ontario Business Registry. So you can go to this, anyone can go to this website and do a search. It costs $8 to get the results, but you can see some of the results right here. If you just search for Sagamok, these are a bunch of their companies that have Sagamok in the title. Some of them are active, some of them are not. That Sagamok Beverage Company, that has nothing to do with us. Sagamok Sturge is one that we should be paying attention to. I think this has to do with the Hydro One project that's happening, and that one's $1 billion project, not hundreds of millions. So through the searches, like see the number here 100960, I had to take numbers from the minutes, go to a search here, pay $8. And then that's when I started seeing, Angus is a director or a president or whatever. And then sometimes it's even, the company has no information on it, and you have to trace it through the federal registry, which is a whole different search. Then you finally get the name. So it's like at that point, it's almost like it's intentional to obfuscate, make it complicated to figure out who's running what or who owns what.
So they're trying to hide that.
Hide it in plain sight.
Inform the community members that these businesses exist, but not tell us whose names are on these companies.
Yeah, everything should be published. This all should be in our members portal. Now, where was I?
There
Okay.
should be a process that they follow with any business that is brought into the community. Say like Tammy has a construction business and she wants to be considered by Sagamok. According to our procurement policies, she would have to submit like a complete package, like with her resume, like all of her liability insurance, like whatever the requirements are for that. And they should be vetting that, but it doesn't happen. And we know it because we haven't seen anything in the minutes. And you're gonna see at one of their first council meetings where they committed to $45 million. How do you realistically commit $45 million without properly vetting all of the information that you're receiving? And how do you vet that information if you don't have a financial background or knowledge of those particular businesses?
That's kind of how I think they make an excuse of why they don't provide this. Like, oh, you wouldn't understand it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, thank you very much.
I don't know you guys, but I remember my entire lifetime going to the AGLs and saying, look, can you provide this in what, why, when, where, and who? Like, this is not something that I expect that when we have that many professionals that are sitting up there, that this is not a difficult task. And the other thing is that, there should be at the political office at any given time a narrative that's up to date that tells you what the current status of something is so that you have a right to be able to ask. But imagine the potential opportunities we miss not having them. But you know, this tells a story about willingness. Let's face it, this isn't about incompetence. This is about willingness to be able to provide you what you've been asking for years and years and years.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's definitely not incompetence. People know what they're doing. So, yes, getting into the big numbers here. Currently, the loans that we have out from Sagamok to our own companies equals $96.97 million. We don't know how much we're owed back. We know that we're supposed to get interest back at least between 4 and 12% on each of that, or all that money. But that's a really big margin. Not only do we have all that cash into these businesses, we've also purchased ownership from those businesses. So we own $26.64 million worth of Sagamok ownership of the businesses. So the cash ownership, it equals $123 million all in.
And again, that was all decided by chief and council?
All in camera. And for anyone who's not familiar with the terms, if you're in a chief and council meeting and they go in camera, that means it's private, behind closed doors.
Shouldn't there have been a consensus with the whole band before they even proceeded with something like that? You would think, right?
You would think.
It is our money.
They did come to Toronto, try to find everybody in Toronto to come to this meeting, and they expressed so hard that they needed us to vote. They needed our voice. They needed us to step up and say something.
But they failed to do it in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, they traveled everywhere on this road show to get buy-in from off-reserve members, just like they're doing to our elders. They take our elders to Sudbury like they did yesterday, a little getaway. Why? You know, like our community is here. We should be planting here so all of our elders can partake.
They gave their $20 each to go play at the casino after they went to that meeting. Oh, yeah.
And this is
And these are the types of things we need to know.
I'm guilty here.
I don't know, I also question why the political office is the one organizing these elders trips as well.
Why isn't it?
We have departments for that.
Well, we end up with hearing news. The elders told us it was okay.
Yeah.
And then we find out after they were given information and then nobody jumped up to say no. And they got a mandate now.
Yeah.
Got a mandate to run with things, but the elders said this was the way it was. You know?
Well, they never, I don't know, like, how it fits around, but I know I've heard stories, but it never happened. So I'm like, okay, where are you on this?
This is a good time for if anyone has questions in particular. Like I can go all night talking about these companies, but it really is mundane, and it kind of just gets you more angry when you see that.
With these companies, I remember going to that sign. Do you ever recall seeing that thing on the Facebook? It said signing ceremony, and but it never said what. You know what I mean? Like that's all it said. It was very vague. Signing ceremony. And I looked at it. I said, yeah. I went and I'm like, what the hell is a signing ceremony like this? Again, here's leadership. It's so vague about something that's probably so important. So I said to myself, I'm going to go check this out. Well, wouldn't you know it, that they said 5 o'clock, right? Well, they moved it to 11 that day. And I had just caught that notice instead of they changed it to 11. So instead of going to this quit smoking thing I was going to go to, they were having at the health office, I went over there. And you know what? There was tables and tables all in the community center, all dressed up fancy with the glass plates, everything. But there was no members in there. There was, I think it was staff presenting guys. In any case, signing ceremony. Even then, they're sitting in there. That's when they have that company from Poland over there, a mining company. So even then, they get up and they go up to the stage and they start signing. And I'm sitting there, and they never mentioned anything about what they're signing. So I turned around and I see the counselor and I said, what's this what are they signing up there? Like, they didn't even say anything. Like, I didn't go on the group or nothing. And she says, ask them. So, you know, like, to me, it was just so awful that they're not even explaining what they're signing to people that were there. Mind you, there was no members there because they changed the time. And there's, like, people who are working, all dressed up fancy, too. Everybody's all dressed up fancy. And the chief's there with a big headdress. And anyway, so when they came off the stage, I went up to that Poland guy, that guy, and I said, the table's right beside, so I just started asking him. I said, well, what's going on there? I said, what did you guys sign up there? He said, and he's looking at me, and so he starts explaining about the mining company, right? And I'm like, well, that Sagamok's going to be part owners with them, I'm happy with it. So I started asking him, well, in that contract you just signed up there, I said, is there anything in that contract that states how the band members are benefiting from this venture?
That's another huge thing missing.
Nelson Toulouse came up to me and he tapped it from the shoulder. Right? He said, let our guests eat. And there was not even no food served or nothing. He said, let our guests eat. Because one of our guests says, and I'm standing there and I thought, wow, this is Nelson telling me to leave the guy alone. And then he says, you'll have plenty of time to ask questions later after we eat. Let's let them eat, he says. So I sit down and the guy's looking at me. But he did say, before Nelson interrupted, he said something along the lines of, that was their major concern was about any backlash or being sued because they're agreeing as Sagamok, but does all of Sagamok know what they're agreeing to? So he said that was the biggest concern and the biggest negotiations they were having with Sagamok over this venture was the fact that the members, were they actually aware, do they actually agree about this venture, about this like money that's being...
No, I think it's pretty clear that they don't care what members think anymore.
No, if you're, if Nelson showing me
I
what
just have one question, say just walking to the, not too much up here. But anyway, I had an incident one time, Pat, you'll remember this. I had an issue, remember? I had some issue, and there was others that had issues. So I said, well, I'm gonna go sit at the justice office, right? People were telling me, I went down to the justice office, I took my lawn chair, my coffee cup, and I had a leg eat, and I'm sitting here, and I did not let anybody come in. Remember that they called the cops? Yeah, peaceful or something, I said, I just want to talk to the person in charge of this. You know? So what I'm getting at is, people talk. People are always talking, wagging their tongues, but
They're not doing
time for action. Nobody
exactly.
Well, we're serious. What this young man's talking about is what Lori's talking about. Let's get behind him. Let's do something, show our support. You know? Don't just sit here and be observers. Get in on the, because you're doing it for your kids.
Yeah, with that being said, I really would like to encourage everybody to go to the July 28th meeting if you can make it to the next council meeting. Like you said, there will be no change unless we show up.
And because this is viral, I'm going to introduce myself. Nishnave Kwegnaus, the Muktanzma. 75, that's the one, yes. Council winning in Madap Merja, no one come on in Mama. Nivnashkogevo getting in in the past. I'd like to say we've come a long way, which we have. But there is too many mistakes that's going to pull us right back down to where we started from if we don't do something about it now. Elaine Jones, Nishnikovs, for your information, I'm not hiding.
For posterity?
Yes. You know, I've been talking a lot here today, and for whoever's watching and listening out there, Elaine,
Thank you very much, Elaine. The next meeting is July 28th. I'm only guessing at the time, but the last one started at 9 o'clock, just after 9 o'clock. No, in the morning, sorry. And it's at the Millennium Center, the old, I don't know if they still play bingo there or not, but that's where it is.
Sometimes they change their place. They say it's there, but they'll change the place.
This is very true, and the website doesn't have an updated list.
Nor do they even give, I would say, like, inform the members of these, like,
No.
information or not.
The last meeting I went to, I was alone in the corner. And yeah, and I had to find out from another band member that the meeting was even happening, and I had rush straight down there. Any questions?
What kind of information they're supposed to provide for us?
Like what?
All the stuff that you put on,
All the stuff I've been posting online? Well, after,
No.
what's that?
Hard copy, no.
Oh, hard copy. No, I don't have any hard copies right now.
You had some at the store, the way.
Yeah. Those were pretty thick books, and
gather up all that information and then figure out what questions to ask at that point.
that's a great idea. I will put something together, and if anyone shows up, I will have a stack of papers and questions and info and everything.
I wanted tonight.
Sorry, mate.
It is available at the stores, but I mean, we can go through some of the information.
Yeah.
And I think that's really critical for people to understand. Because we focus specifically on the 96 and 123 million, we can talk about that. Because that's a pretty good indicator that they're not following their own rules.
Are we getting any dividends from these investments?
And see, that's the other thing. ZEI, all community members are stakeholders, right? We have that right to have that information. Well, we don't even know what companies really exist. We know based on what he was able to pull from the records that they have, we have a list of them. But ideally, a company like that should be providing summaries for each company. Like, what does OCL do? And this is what we made this year. This is what ZEI does, and this is what we made. They could also be creating annual reports that show how many employees that they have, how many of those employees are from our First Nation,
Yeah.
how much do they pay out, like in different training and stuff like that, and where the money that they make goes. But what's happening right now is through the review that we've done, we found that they loaned 25 million to the group of companies from our money. 25 million. And it's basically just sitting there available for the different companies to access.
It's like an open tap of money for a handful of companies that we own.
And no financial lending institution will let you do that, ever. You have to have very defined plans as to what you're going to be doing for a year, how you're going to carry out those plans, what it's going to cost, and how you should be requesting money going forward. But that's not happening. And that's the concerning part, because Sagamok has all the necessary, they have their financial administrative law, which lays out that entire process. They have procurement policies, they have due diligence policies, they have administrative policies, they have governance manuals, they have finance policies internally. So I mean, they're very well equipped to do things properly, and they're not.
Yeah, there is no good reason that we're all sitting here guessing and asking questions about what our leadership should be providing us already. I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the Sault Ste. Marie deal as well, because that one is a big deal. The land we bought, okay, so there's three key players in this, actually. There's a developer named Paul Gwindon, our financial advisor, Ryan McLeod, and Angus Toulouse. They are three big names in the Sault Ste. Marie development deal. Paul Gwindon, through his company, purchased 201 South Market Street in Sault Ste. Marie for $1.2 million. I think it was 15 months later. He sold it to Sagamok for $7 million. So that's like more than $5 million jump in less than 2 years. And to top it all off, so GR Trust, this is a company, again, until I started digging into this data, I had not heard of. and it's what it sounds like. It makes trusses for homes. We acquired it for $100 through some partnership or I don't know, some ownership deal. It was worthless company that we bought for $100. We have since put in $900,000 into it. Gus is the only officer or director on that company. It's only his names. Or wait, no, I think I got that wrong. Maybe, I think it's Michael Abitong and Norma are also officers or directors, one of the two. And then I found a document the other day from, you can pull like land deals and data from online, again paid for. But I found this GR Trust Company, there was a paper trail to a John Deere payloader, like a machine, a loader, and Paul Gwynden's company and Ryan McLeod's company both had, it wasn't a lien, it was more like they were the creditors on it. I don't fully understand, but their names showing up on that document are very concerning since it was later bought by us, and Ryan is our financial advisor. So he's telling us to buy a company that he has interest in some way. And this Paul Gwynden, after he sold us the land, he's become the developer on that land. So that we had a $45 million set aside for Sault Ste. Marie project. $7 million went to the land. The remaining, $38 million is for development. And this is what Paul Gwynden's been accessing to build the developments. So he sold this land and he's building the property on top of it. Ryan McLeod is overseeing it, and Gus is selling them trusses. Take what you will from that, but to me that is a very huge conflict of interest, and there is absolutely no oversight. Like with any of these companies, we cannot see a single thing.
Also, what we haven't heard is of that 45 million, 7 million was committed. The remaining 38 was to be financed either through CMHC or financial institutions. But because we don't get information, we don't know if they were able to secure any type of financing from CMHC.
The minutes say the CMHC financing wasn't coming in. They're going to start looking at build better homes. So we already spent tens of millions of dollars expecting CMHC to pay us back, and that's not happening.
Because the debt ratios are too high. When CMHC looks at a project, they look at how much is going in, where the money's coming from, how much you're going to be renting in the end. And if the debt ratios don't work out, they just won't give you the financial backing to do it. So I mean, a project of this scope, $45 million, where's that money going to come from?
I filed freedom of information requests with both the City of Sault Ste. Marie and CMHC. It's all to get information about these deals. Information that Sagamok should already be providing us. I'm having to go file these requests with these entities and towns. I haven't personally. I had a call from one of the contractors that was working on site. So this is not confirmed yet, but I have no reason to not believe him. But he said typically CMHC funding will fund per unit at a cost of about $22,000 to $25,000, and he said the costs have been running up to $40,000, $45,000 per unit.
It's quite fancy. I was just been up there Tuesday, and I looked at them, and because the Legion had just built a nice set of 7 floors, and these are even fancier than those ones. So that's the first thought that came to my head is, are they going to let them, are people rent them, or are they looking at renting them for the bigger bucks, which is going to...
That's another good question. And another one that we should be asking Chief and Council together.
Was there actually a need for members to have this unit built somewhere off reserve? Like, how does that benefit us to know we're on the wait list for a house?
And how did they determine that Sault Ste. Marie was the ideal place when it's the epicenter of addiction?
Yeah.
Like, I think had they come to the community first and said, we have a housing need off reserve, where do you think would be the most appropriate place to build? I think a majority of our band members are living in the southern regions, it's the Toronto area. You know, so I mean, it leads to the whole question, how did they determine that Sault Ste. Marie would be the most appropriate fit?
Toronto would be the ideal place for that need to suit the members because the rent's so damn high down there.
Yeah,
as
it is.
compared.
I found out.
If there was that need.
They said, she said that.
Oh, yeah, it is.
1,500 for one bedroom, and anywhere to $25,000 to $2,000.
A counselor said that? Like that's how much a unit?
Somebody who lives up there,
Yeah.
she's told me that the rents are very high, and that's what she told me. One bedroom is minimum 1,500, and two bedroom, they will go from anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000.
I did speak to Ryan at my last community meeting, but I think it was based on the lawyer's fee coming back. So I had questioned him about the Sault Ste. Marie apartments, because I've seen them. And I actually walked through and said, they weren't gonna let me in the property, but I said, I am a Sagamok member. I said, I own this property. I need to go and take a look and talk to me about it. So anyway, I did that. And Ryan, I did question Ryan. I said, where did the $7 million come from? And he said it was the RHT. He confirmed it with me. And I wrote on my paper. And the next question I had asked him about is about the rent. Will our people, based on low income, will we get it? And I said, how much is the rent? So we did mention about 2,500 or so. And then I said, will our people be able to get a rent with low income? And he said, well, we'll see.
I figure out of 3 buildings, they may get one, these senior citizens or something, but.
The other part is that when I heard Sagamok had a office in Sudbury, I forget what the street. But anyway, I went over and I walked into, it was a Friday, I think I walked in the building, so there wasn't too many people there. But anyway, the young lady met me, and then again, I said, I'm no Sagamok. I said, I own this business. I said, please walk me through it. So she walked me through it. And I met a few of the higher uppers, the money people, and I think they were preparing for Legend Mine to come into the building. They were having a section for them. And, but anyway, so I had asked questions about money.
You know, Ryan McLeod is also a director on that Legend Mining Company.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So I think with the name Ryan McLeod, I mean, how does one person take control of our money?
Chief of council empower them to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was an employee up until fall 2022, I believe. And then he was let go and then brought back on as a financial advisor with more authority and more power.
Yeah, he's all over the place. He's not only in Sagamok, but I know he's with other.
The RHG litigation committee.
Yes, exactly.
And the different communities.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say which ones, but I know that there's, well, 3 or 4 I know of. Yeah.
Serpent River just had Paul Gwynton and Ryan removed from their files for something recently. So, and it took them a while to get them off. But they did have to remove over the last week and a half.
That's actually how I got Paul Gwynden's name. Was his numbered company is in our minutes, not his name, but his name is in Serpent Rivers beside the company name. So I had to like cross-reference it too. But this Ryan McLeod, this guy should be on everyone's minds. I actually sent an email last week. Of course, I don't expect to hear back, but I demanded that Angus and Ryan come stand in front of the community and explain these investments to us.
I'd like to know also though, like, I got an email like saying, we got our $3,000 interest. I said, I'd like to know how he figured out $3,000 is our interest. Would it be .0001? Because I mean, that's not much interest on all the money that he got back for 6 months. And then when we finally give her some money, there's no interest is coming. And then we get, and he said, that's final, no more money is coming from that.
But even with that particular situation, like, you know, when Sagamok got the legal fees or whatever back in the winter of this past year, I
Yeah.
can't remember what the total amount is offhand. Does everybody know?
It was like 200.
255
Yeah.
million.
So that's the amount we received. What they should have done, according to our financial administrative law, is come back to the community, say that we've been given 255 million. What is your take on what we should do with it, and how should we distribute it properly? But that's never happened once. They arbitrarily said that we're taking that 250 million, we're paying an X amount of dollars, and then we're keeping a portion for the community, which I think is wrong, because one, we've already seen like how they mismanaged our previous fund. Why would we want them to take that 255 and start committing it to different businesses?
Yes,
On our behalf.
I totally agree with
Yes.
that, yes.
So it was brought up though, and it's recorded in the minutes, that we had that trust meeting. And a couple of community members stood up, and it was recorded
Yes.
through council. And it was to, the position was that it should go to the community as to whether or not there was a 70-30 split, or whether it should be 100%. But what was recommended was that they did the full range of options, because it was noted that that was a procedural injustice to only put a couple of options in that first survey out. But you know what, it made it into the minutes and it was accepted, but that's not how it ended up being implemented. So when we received that $3,000, that was only half of those legal fees that came back to us. But the process was, and you'll see that in the minutes, it says people were advised that it would delay if they had to go to the community. And it was like, well, really, it's just an excuse, right? It was an intimidation tactic, because you're not going to get it until whatever. So here we are now, we're on the precipice of this case being heard in September and October, so that we're going to be able to see another, if we're successful and the membership gets it back, we're going to see another 245 million coming back to the community. Whether or not that goes up to you, or whether or not the council keeps it, really kind of depends now on what kind of a front this group and others in the community are going to put forward.
And I think that's what we need to really decide, from here and going forward, is what approach we're going to take. Do we want to demand, that we go back to our First Nation Election Act, because that was even a bad decision. Our First Nation Election Act a couple of years ago, a core group of people took it upon themselves to approve our new Election Act for a 4-year term. And a lot of people didn't have the opportunity to be engaged. I know I participated in a meeting once, and a couple of my brothers were there, and we were like, we were giving our feedback and stuff, and then we found out the next day that they had already sent the letter to have it approved anyways.
Oh my God.
And if you recall,
They signed a PCR before we even had that meeting.
and if folks recall, our community story session that we don't have anymore, it was really important to a lot of those who attended. We saw hundreds of names of our own people participating in those conversations. In the last round that we did, council decided they wanted a couple of specific questions answered. One of them was whether or not we should have a 4-year term. The community decided that they didn't want to answer that question because it wasn't time, they weren't ready to do it. And they hadn't seen the council demonstrate a reason for that. Now, fast forward just a couple of years, and we have a VCR being passed with minimal engagement within our people. And all it took was a simple VCR. But I'm going to put on the table that hundreds of people, hundreds of our people contributed to that conversation when our community started, and it's documented. But today we don't have access to it either.
I think if we were able to review the past few years of BCRs, we would all be entirely outraged. I guarantee you this. We need to see those BCRs. That's where the truth is going to start coming out. So we definitely got to band together, go to council, and say enough is enough.
So
Do we have access to those VCRs that they're, like, can I go in and say,
This was brought
Be
up.
able to access any information that you request, but I sent an email, I believe, on June 14th, asking specifically for all band council resolutions. I said, can you send me band council resolutions passed between this period? I never got a response, or
I've done the
I
same.
got a response, but no follow-up, sorry.
I did the same. I just got no response.
But I do want to bring something up for those of you who don't know. That First Nations Election Act actually has a mechanism that we can use. There's a recall mechanism built into it. And we need to determine as a community when or if that's viable to be able to use. If you don't know what a recall mechanism is, it's a simple petition that asks for a removal of your leadership so that a new election can be held. Yeah. So I'm not recommending that, I'm just bringing it up because it is part of that legislation. It's something that the people are capable of doing.
And we need to be very clear, like, I know I've taken a beating over the last 3 years because people thought that I had a vote to pick because I didn't get in as chief of council. I worked with chief of council for over 17 years. It's not a position I would want to hold. And the only reason I ran during the last election was to try to stop what was happening today. So I mean, you know, people need to get it out of their heads. I have no interest in becoming chief of our community, nor have I ever had an interest. I was doing it to try to block what's happening.
But you
And that-
find out the percentage of what?
I only lost like, I think like 87 votes. And what's concerning is because a lot of people had sent in forms or requested, you know. So there were issues like that. But I mean, like another dirty tactic, even though like it wasn't illegal, the dirty tactic was paying out $100,000 on election day.
But he sent a letter out saying, I think I can find it today. It says, I wish to thank my staff and my chief of council for helping me to allow this money to be released on today.
Election day.
And it was on election day. That is illegal because that would probably sway people, okay, I'll vote for him because I'm going to get my $100,000.
Yeah.
He's also a decision maker on the RHPLMC as well. So this would have transpired at the right?
Yeah.
He's also our trustee, so I mean, he plays a lot of.
I would like to see his bank account before she arrived and since.
I've asked him how much money, I think it was,
Oh, he
yeah,
said he gets
yeah.
$168,000 a year, I saw that. But then the other, and I'll make all the decisions. It was this other guy, I'm trying to think of his name, not back. But he gets $500,000 a year.
Well, we also have to remember though too is that there's two accounts that draws a, one of them you pay salaries out of, and those were pink checks.
Yeah.
There's also the green checks, no, as I switch those around, the green checks are for professional things. You know, if you had access to the Sagamok finance system where
Yeah.
you do that, you'll see that there are companies that are listed that belong to our chief.
Yeah.
We pay out there as well.
Yeah.
But what you also don't see is the amount of money that they're receiving from ZEI or SDC. And they do, like I know when I was on council, I can only speak for my time, that I did receive an honorarium at Christmas time and I was kind of like shocked because I thought, what the heck, you know, what is this? And that's what it was. I had received an honorarium, not just in my council position, but I had received it from ZEI, SDC, and one other place. So I was quite surprised, you know, that that amount of money gets distributed. And what I've tried to, I've had conversations with Russell, and I said, you know, maybe that August 24th meeting was that, you know, they signed these non-disclosure agreements, but they also upped their council honorariums. Like,
I believe it's. I've heard it's doubled.
now, but
I heard it's now doubled.
yeah, see? And that's, if it doubled, they're making at least a salary position amount just being on council. If it doubles, I'll tell you that.
Is it true that they gave like $60,000 a year?
We don't know, like, until we're able to look at the entire
If that's the case,
system,
I'll run next election.
we need to look at all records to be able to determine exactly, and that's basically what we've stated. I know I've taken the approach already. I've sent my letter and my review to First Nation Finance Authority and the First Nation Financial Management Board, citing my concerns dating back to 2022. I had reached out to FNFA back when I originally had my concerns, and I said, listen, something's going on here. And I got a response back from them. They said, well, we're sorry, but it's a community issue. Despite being the certifier of our financial administrative law.
Really?
Yes, and that's extremely concerning.
Yeah. I think the RCMP should be holding this.
So, knowing Like I've heard before, different companies that are on the reserve. How fast, how much can you trace when they dissolve that company to
There's-
something else?
there's only-
How much can you keep track of that?
There's only two that I've seen. They owed, I think it was ZCLP maybe, and OCL owed Sagamok 14 point something million dollars, and that was converted from debt to equity. So they took that debt and they said, we own some of you now, which is good if the company's making money, but if it's losing money, well, we just tucked $14 million into the books to say, see you later.
But to answer your question, Belinda, Sagamok, again, their systems are so sophisticated, and I'm gonna say that over and over, that you should be able to trace everything back to, that's been done, from employment to contracts to minutes, whatever. They should have the ability to provide all of the information that you're requesting, I wanna say, yeah.
Do we get that? Do we get
Not
that?
currently, and this is the problem, and this is why we're saying, you know, we need to do something about it because we're completely shut out. So we're going directly to FNFA and ISC and other bodies and saying, listen, you're the ones that certified this. You're the ones that are responsible for it. As community members, we're putting it back on you now as the government to address our council because we've done what we can and they haven't responded.
So saying that, if they are able to dissolve these companies, will we be able to still penalize them for this lost money, knowing that that company is no longer in the books, no longer in the papers,
I think
no longer
that's
there?
I think that's a question for a lawyer, really.
Yeah. Legal.
Another thing we need to worry about, a few months ago before Little NHL at the elders meeting, I was sitting there, there was 232 million we got back. There's 255 supposed to still be returned, so 487. Because the total was 510. At this meeting, though, they said that the 232 million would come back, and Angus expressed concern for Little NHL, families not having enough. During that meeting, I asked him, if you're so concerned about these families, because why don't you waive your 30% and give 100%? Which got me a look. Well, they also talked about the other 255, and they said when that comes back, because the lawyers had said at the one time that 255 would be returned for language. He said Nelson would be put in charge of that money as a language. You better listen to that, because that means they may not give us anything out of the other 255. He said that during the meeting with the people there. That's a very concerning thing to me.
Very.
There's a lot of little things that you can find online. I know a few years ago I was getting in a lot of trouble because they questions. Lost my job.
And this is why it's important to have our people here, like our elders, you know, our community members involved, because right now it just looks like me and Russell are troublemakers.
Yeah,
you
a
know?
couple of rabble-rousers.
That's what they're putting out there, that we're just two people that are pissed off for some reason and causing trouble. But that's not the reality.
Oh, I am pissed off now.
We've been citing this for the past couple of years.
We have to get that,
Yeah.
and we need that.
I
Oh,
have,
and
me in Toronto, I'm thinking, hearing all these stories, it's like, is this really true? Come on, somebody's gotta tell me the truth here. Are you guys bullshitting? Are you guys something? And then started getting more stories, and then they're all collaborative, they're all telling the truth, they're all actually straight. And this is from 2018 that I've been hearing these things from. I was like, how come nobody wants to stand up? How come, what's going on? Well, then you better stop me, flower child.
a lot of people like this are left in the blind.
Yeah.
Exactly. And or you apply for something, oh, there's no money for people, people on the, yeah.
As we as community members, can we shut these guys out of the office? Lock them out?
We absolutely can lock them out.
Right in front of the city isn't enough.
Yep. There is a trespass law.
That have posted their CNC.
Plan a day maybe or something, you know?
I'm in.
That office with some signs.
We have to be
There's a
careful
meeting
though,
on
that they're trying
Tuesday.
to pass a law right now, and if you do that, they can have you picked up and arrested.
Yep.
That's going to.
I heard it myself in the last council meeting. They were calling it the community safety bylaw in there, and I started, I started causing ruckus Because the lawyer who was doing the presentation literally said, this trespass, this law is going to give you the power to clear out protesters at your band office if they're not allowing you into work. We want you to have that power, they said. I couldn't believe my ears. And they're trying to pass this law saying it's going to keep us safe from drugs and gangs and violence, but from what I heard, it has nothing to do with that. Very little to do with that, if anything.
But we're also not using our values in a way that we talk anymore. When it came to the RHT stuff, and when it comes to actually everything we're talking about here today, the language we talk about is harmony and balance. The words we use and the concepts are reciprocity, relationship, respect. And it's difficult to see how things are going on, but we're told what things are. I don't know how many people sat and listened to the legal fees appeals case and they listened to our language, Brian Nelson, speak about reciprocity as meaning we owe our lawyers $200, $500 million.
Yeah.
But, you know, without the ability for us to engage with that and for us to really know what that is. So we keep being fed information on these terms, but we understand those terms what those are as well. And I think that we should be more willing to, these conversations should actually be focused around those concepts.
And that's something to keep in mind of. He's sitting there saying, no, the lawyers deserve that money. But now that, you know, that was high-botched, community's getting the money back, who are they gonna put in charge? The person who wanted to give the money to the lawyers in the first place?
Yeah.
You gotta remember that Angus sat on that court on behalf of the lawyers. That is so wrong for our people. He should have been sitting there for us, not fighting for the lawyers to keep that money.
Well, absolutely. Those 5 members of the LMC team, that's your chief. That's one of them. And that's one of them that's been in control of how that narrative has been developing and how the plan has been developing since the beginning, since 2011. So, I mean, here we're talking about things internal, but we need to have a pretty good handle on how we represent it externally as well. There's a lot of implications. And those implications really have a direct impact on what our treaty rights are doing. These are evolving under these court cases. And we need to be very, very careful about it. But right now, we're told just trust, trust, trust.
And just to let you know, remember July 30th, 2024, they were in court, the LMC, and the judge herself called them criminals. A week later, he got in.
Wow.
That was so crazy.
Why don't we have a board with all the humility and all that on and say, Angus, this is our reserve. We want that.
Oh, let's put that on some signs and bring it to the band office.
Yeah, this is what, I'll bet you it's behind him when he sits in his desk, it's all behind him. But he doesn't follow it. You need to follow this.
So, just going back to the Tuesday meeting, Barry Patapus is running the community safety.
At the same time, right? At the same time as the council meeting?
No.
It's right after, I believe.
It's
Yeah.
before or after?
3 to 8 with a supper break for the trespass safety
Yes. Is that the day
meeting.
before council?
It's the same day.
Oh, same.
Council meeting is during the day and then this is held after.
Yeah.
Okay, just to let you know, this is my way of thinking, is that if leadership is looking towards this trespassing bylaw, they're using that vehicle to push this so people won't be trespassing. They're gonna scare people, you can't do this, you're gonna go to jail. They're using this vehicle to initiate that bylaw. So it is so important for everyone to attend that meeting because that's the vehicle that they will be using to pass that bylaw.
And once that bylaw is passed, we can get arrested for trying to block the band office. Right now, it's open season.
I don't want to frustrate anybody, but I wanted to just respond respond back to the question back here, can we do that? You know, the way I understand it is, you know, the ones who can do that are, many of them are sitting in this room. I couldn't do that, I don't think. I need to be called upon. I need somebody like my grandmother and my grandfathers to go and do that act. I need them to do that so they can call me and say, hey, I need your help. Okay? So whenever that group of grandmothers and grandfathers are ready for that, they'll let me know.
Yeah, if I might add, I think, early on when I returned to the community, I had went inside a chief and council meeting, and I was just kind of flabbergasted, and I was just there to learn about what the community was about. So all these things were being passed around on the table, where these individuals were sitting, and it was asked, anybody, you know, got a question or comments or whatever? Everybody was quiet in that room. And I thought, well, you've been asked to step forward and say something. There's that fear, eh? I felt that. And it was like, but as soon as the break happened, everybody was outside and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna have a store. Why was this like, is this, you know, like, I apologize. In that moment, I was just dumbfounded. And then through the years, sitting in those chief of council meetings, the elders were told to shut up and sit down or be quiet. Yes. Now, that's not. As a community member, I think I'd like to stand up behind our elders and sit there with them and say, hey, you know what? It's not right for you to speak to them like that. Yeah. Just because you're sitting over there doesn't mean that they're any less. They have wisdom, they have knowledge. You know, and it's like, why shut them up? If it weren't for the elders, those guys wouldn't even be sitting here.
Well said.
All types of fear tactics that have been used over the last couple of years. Like I know that staff were told that they can't comment on social media, they can't post certain things, or they can't partake in certain discussions, or they, you know, that's why there's probably very few staff members, you know, people that have courage to come out. But majority of them are scared, right? Because that's their paycheck. And I can understand that, like, you know, I can appreciate it, but until, you know, we band together as a community and stand up and do something about it, it's gonna continue to happen. And, you know, me as a mom, a professional, an aunt, like, you know, knowing that 123 million of our money is, in my opinion, is unaccounted for, that's a problem. You know, I have kids, I have nephews and nieces, and I want certainty that they're gonna have something in the next 20 years. But the way it's going right now, that's not happening. And our most vulnerable people are suffering. And they wonder why we have so many people running around with addictions or, you know, having difficult times. They've been treated like shit, you know, by our chief and council in the past. A lot of people that go for no reason at all. That does a lot of damage to a person's spirit. You know, just their well-being, and we've allowed it to happen because we've never asked chief and council questions, but it has to end now because it's, you know, it's doing too much damage to our people.
Another 2 years is an awful lot to have to ask.
Yes.
And I want to remind you is that for us, for our people, our generations, you know, it doesn't take very long. You know, it only takes a few years before we become something else. You know, where we're accepting of things, we're accepting that this is what we are, and I don't think that we are. I think that we're still the type that are demanding a good relationship with our leadership. We're demanding that, you know, it's the people who are, we're the ones who have to have that expression within our governance. But I don't think that we can wait too much longer. I know it's just my feeling, but I wanted to put it out there because, you know, we're halfway in between a term now. 4-year term. We should be going to an election. Yeah. So I hope that this is where the conversation is going. I was just informing people that that doesn't exist under the Jurisdictions Elections Act. But as we determine what we're doing with the council, with the investigation of the First Nations Elections Act, amongst us, we should start thinking within our families, what's that line at? Because there is that mechanism, if we need to use it.
I'm not so sure that mechanism's actually in place. I've done a bit of research, but it's obviously something we should look into. Can we actually recall them if it comes to that? I've been giving them.
In our technical community for a long, long time.
Pardon?
My grandfather used to talk about that. The law. Being put down the law. And it's not by our forefathers. Look at it before it. And
Yeah.
there it is. And as people of the community in Degma, they have that power. We have that power to do that.
I agree.
Even if they use that trespassing thing there, that's not going to stop people from doing what they want to do. What's going on underground?
Yeah, we have to remind them. We definitely have to remind them of that. They're here to serve us, not the other way around.
Because I remember telling my husband that when they said they were releasing all this money to vandals, my first thought was that they were going to try to really cause dissension on the ground. And that's exactly what's happening. But that's not right.
I think, I just want to add to Jackie's comment, and I did come to a community meeting or a community session, I don't know if it was training day, I can't remember. But I ended up hearing that there were 4 or 5 police officers that day. Now, when I heard that, and I was thinking about our history of Nunavut people, residential school, Indian agent coming into, to take our kids. When you see a police officer, I get that too, but I see a police officer, I'm nervous. I'm scared something's gonna happen to me. And then when I don't know why they were called, I don't know why our chief called upon 4 or 5 officers to be there that day. I don't know what he was afraid of. But to me, when you have police officers in a building like that, the trauma or the triggers that happen to us as individuals, or learning about or living our past, that was so wrong. So I'm going to say be prepared, because he is going to call the police. And let's not be afraid, because again, Jackie said, the power is with the people. The power has voted him in, the power of the people to take him out.
Thank you, Violet. It's very well said.
Take all of them out.
Yeah, it isn't just the team, like if you look at the minutes and the review that was done, there was no opposition, no abstention, no discussion. They allowed it to happen, in my eyes. Everything I've read, everything that I've seen, knowing where Sagamok has been and where we're supposed to be going, it's very disheartening to know that we elected people in that chose not to say nothing. Nothing at all.
And I think it's the responsibility of 12 counselors to tell that chairperson, that chief, what is needed in this community and back up the people, support the people. They have a responsibility. 12 people have responsibility to stand up to that individual. And if they haven't done it this far, then what do we do? Because they certainly have no interest in us.
Not at all.
I look around this room here and I see a lot of names that go back to your families. We need to get the numbers. A lot of you need to talk to your families. There's no people that sure about that. There's not your family. There's another people here. We need those kind of numbers.
I know if I had 200 people at my door, I'd be freaking out. So I'd have some answers ready.
So is our next step to go to be at that council meeting, but to confront them and ask for
The next step is to show up.
Not so much confront, I think it's like this, and start showing
the one I went to, it was 8:30. It didn't get really started until after 9.
So 9-ish is when it starts.
Yeah, hunting for it. Should we close out? Yeah, we're hitting the 2-hour mark, so let's, is there anything to do for closing out? Pat, maybe?
I want to say miigwech, Russell, because like a lot of the stuff that you've been posting, was news to me. Like, I was shocked to read a lot of what was going on. Not surprised, but I mean, like, to know that this is going on without consultation to members. Like, all of these businesses should have been, like, everyone should know about it. And, understand what's going on, where our money is going. Because they wouldn't be doing any of this purchasing of businesses without our entertainment. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, it's very upsetting is all I can say. And I spent weeks, pulling this stuff, and just every day it was something else that just made me feel sick. It's not good.
Do you think you would be able to make available a template for a letter to be sent to council so that we
I can absolutely do that.
Yes. Signing it individually, not just one petition. Everyone send in a letter to chief of council.
I'll bring a stack of them to the meeting on Tuesday.
I'll also look at the recall mechanism under our election act to see how we can use it to get them out.
How to use the non-confidence? Is that the word?
Yeah, same thing. If you don't have confidence in your leadership, you can call them to the yeah.
Russell, do you think you can do a letter for any cross off to you the stores out there?
I will. No, 100%. I'll get them out into as many hands as I can.
And I think
Ladies and
I did do that. I did. It probably disappeared as soon as I walked out, but I left some.
Leave a spot for individual questions too.
What do you want to do?
Okay, I just want to say one more thing. There's a meeting going on.
Tuesday.
We don't know where.
No, we don't know exactly, but I guess at the Millennium Center.
So everybody here today, would you make a commitment to attend the meeting? Or get somewhere with it?
And bring at least 3 people with you.
Nothing's gonna change if we don't show up.
And I think the beautiful thing here tonight is that, we have like a good representation of our elders. And that's what's needed, because to me, that's ultimately where the decision should come from, is our elders. So thank you for everybody who came out to participate. It's important. Tuesday, we'll get the information out.
Okay, I'm not on any of this but I did identify myself earlier. But somebody always has to tell me what's going on. I'm one of those elders. I might not look like it, but I'm almost 80. I'm going to forget about that tomorrow. But yeah, if I talk to somebody here, she
I didn't. I forgot to bring one. I thought I would just.
Pat's just gonna do a closing prayer.
This would be good to have for Joseph's report. Yeah.
Just want to say miigwech oversight. I want to say these 2 people here, Lori and Russell, very brave to do this tonight, to bring our people together, bring our concerns about our President, Chief and Council. So I ask the Creator to watch over us, watch over our community, keep us safe and our children, and hopefully we are doing the right thing, and the Chief and Council will listen to what we have to say about about our concerns. Now, Rich.
Thank you very much.
Before you leave, can you just sign this paper, please? We just want to be able to document who's here.
Thank you very much for coming. Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready.
We'll make sure you guys know.
The elders go first.